In this video, we will learn about cell referencing. So as we learned before, each cell has its own address. If you look here, like at B2, so this is cell B2. So you can see the address in this corner here because it's in column 2 and in column B and row 2. So what do we mean by cell reference? Mainly, I could pick any other cell and I put equal sign to that cell so it will refer to it. So if we look at G, so that's G2, and you can see I put there equal B2. So now it's referencing, or it's referring to B2. So whatever you see in B2, you can see the same thing in G2. So it's kind of just like reflection to what value you have in B2. That could be a text or number. So let's try that maybe here again. So let's say in E3, if I put equal B4. So if you do B4, then it should, you can see it highlighted here. So it should show 36, which is the case here. How about if we change that to equal B2 again? So it will show you the 25. So this is called cell reference, which is mainly just look at what's inside the cell and show it again. Okay, how about now if we copy that? So let me copy this, the G2, and I paste it in G3. So what do you think we expect to get? Because we are copying something and pasting it, we expect to get the same value, 25. But if you paste, you see that you get 12. So that's what's called relative cell reference, which is mainly it looks at the relative location. So can G2 is referring to B2. Now if we do G3 will refer to relative to the same location, so it will refer to B12. If I copy that same thing, if I paste to the next one, so it will like the next one will refer to the relative location to which is G4 will refer to this relative location, which is to B4. So this is why we are seeing 36. How about if I copy again, if I copy G2 and I paste it in this location, so you can see the relative locations like a diagonal here. So then it should show us 5 because this is just the relative location. So if I copy G2 into F3, and I got 5, not 25. So that's called relative cell reference. The same thing if I copy 25 to diagonal to the right, so this should bring me, or should copy that the 7, not the 25. So let's copy and paste, and you can see it reflected or referred to this relative location of the 7, which is the C3, not to the B2. This is how the relative cell reference work. We could do the same thing with the dragging. So again, looking at this is G2 equal B2, so that's a reference. So G2 is looking or reference B2. Now you can see there is a handle here, so like a plus sign. If you see the plus sign in the corner, if I drag, this will apply the same format or the same reference to the next values. But so it's so it will not, it will show it. So you can see when I drag it, it will give you the first time 12, then I keep dragging it, it will give 36. So it's just mainly reflecting the same values there. and I can do that again. And then let's say if I pick the 12, if I drag it to the right, it gave me the 7, and if I take this and I drag it to the left, it gave me the 5. Okay, if you look at this example here, so you can see in B7 I have a value of 10, so that's a value of 10. And if you look at C9, and it's equal B7, so this means, sorry, C9 is referring to B7. So this is mainly, I just put the arrow there to show you what's happening. So this cell is referring to this cell. So this is why we are seeing the same value there. So which is mainly I have equal to B7. And then when I drag down, that will be relative. So that will it will be relative location. So everyone will be the same relative location. C10 will refer to B8, and C11 will refer to B9, and cell C12 will refer to B10. So that's, you can see the same relative location. So that just goes in the same thing like what we discussed before. And we could do the same thing in the horizontal. So let's say this is 10, 9, 8, 7. So these are just values, not reference. And if you look at this one, it's equal F7. So this one is referring to this one, there. And when I drag, so if I remove these values and I drag it there, so you can see it's relative reference here, and in the same relative location. So everyone's like looking diagonal to each other. So that's what meant by relative cell reference. So this is how the default for Excel is to do relative cell reference. But sometimes we don't want, we want it to only keep looking at the same location, and that's what we call absolute cell reference. Like in this case, if I want for even if I drag or copy, if I want to for the cells to have the same value, just look at the same value. There's many applications for that. Let's say if we have an equation, we have an example later, we don't want it to change. So to do that absolute, we call it mainly, it doesn't change location, so we have to put the $sign before the address, like the column number and the column letter and the row number. So in this case, if we put that, let's say this is 10, and if you look at this cell here, when we put that $sign, it does not change. So all of them, when you drag, it will all of them will keep looking at the same location, so it doesn't look into the following cells. And the same thing if you look at the other sample here, or example. So this is 10. If you look at this one, it's equal F17, which is this one, but we put the $sign. If you look there, if you put the $sign, then means it's fixed, or we call it absolute, so it doesn't change. It will just keep looking at the same address there, so it doesn't go to the relative location. So this is kind of why when I drag it, nothing like the previous example happened. So that's how it just stay the same. So let's go to the original examples we start with. So let's say this is B2. When I dragged it, it changed. It just looked at the relative location. So each cell looked at equivalent location. How about now if I just put a $sign there? If you see where I'm pointing there, in front of the column number, and $sign in front of the row address too. So you can see now how it looked like. So that's 25. Now if I drag it, so you see all of them now change to state 25 because now this is an absolute reference. So this is the same thing, nothing changed. And even now if I drag this to the right, it's not going to show me 5, it's still 25. If I look at the left, it's 25. So that's mainly what you need to know there. This is what's, if you need something to look always at the same location, anchored or fixed location, then you have to use the $sign. Otherwise, if you need to have it change, then you have to change that to put it without a $sign. So I hope that's helpful for knowing the difference between relative cell reference and absolute cell reference. In some cases, we only want to make the column fixed and the row relative, or the opposite. We want the column to be relative and the row to be fixed. So this is an example here. So we call that mixed cell reference. And you can see the one that has the $sign. So you can see the $sign is with the 27. So if you look at this one, this is B27. So that's mainly, we are making the row, fixed. So that's making 27. So it will keep looking at row 27. If you drag down, it will stay the same. All of them will be B27. In the other case here, we made the column fixed, and this way when we drag to the other side, like if you take this to the right, it will always keep it constant because we made the G, we made the column fixed, so it only keep looking at the column. Even if we drag it to the right, it's not going to jump from G to H to I to J. So that's keeping it fixed. So that's called mixed. And if we do this, let's go back to our original example. Let's say if I change this, so we made the row fixed here. So it's going to look at row 2. So when I dragged it, it's 20. So that's G3 is referencing or referring to B3. And I only made the column the column fix. So now if I drag this to the right, it will still give me 7. And if I drag it to the left, it should give me 5, which is what happened. But since we fixed the row, then if I drag it down, it's not going to show me 36, and 37 should stay 12. And this is what happened because I fixed the row, but not the column. So let's now do the opposite. Now let's remove the $sign in front of the row number instead of in front of the column. So in this case, we fix the column. We wanted to look at column B, but it's going to change the rows. So now when I drag, it should change to 36 to 37 because I changed because the row is not fixed. But if I drag it to the right, it should stay 12 because it's not allowed to change columns. So then if I drag to the right, it should still show 12. And if I drag it to the left, it should still show 12 because the column is fixed. So we ask it to only keep the column fixed, column B, but it's allowed to change rows. And this is what we call mixed mixed referencing. Okay, let's look at an application for the referencing here. So let's say we want in physics, like the weight of an object equal its mass times the acceleration of gravity. And the acceleration of gravity is constant. So this is 9.8 meter per second square. So that's the value here. So this is in cell, I put that in cell C39. So let's say we have different objects, like 1, 2, 3, 5 objects, different, the mass of each in kilograms and 50, 89, 78, and we want to convert that into the weight in Newton there. So then we just multiply the mass for each times the gravity. So to do that, we always wanted to use the same constant, but we want this to be relative because we want to drag it down. So we want like the first number, which is I put here A42. So weight equal A42 equal this cell times that cell. So this is mainly how we did it. And then when I drag, it will apply. So it will give me the right weight. And here you could look and see that it's always looking at C39. And if you look at the next one, it's C39, C39, C39. So that's, we kept that fixed. But if you look at the first number, the first time it's A42, then it's A43, 44, 45, 46. So this is kind of one good application for. How about if somebody forget? Let's do that. If you just kept both of them, if you did not make it fixed reference, if you did not make absolute reference for the constant or the acceleration constant, gravity constant, what will happen? So let me drag here. So you can see you get a 0, which is not correct for the mass of each of them. Why is that? Because now this is a reference. This is a relative. You kept the C as a relative. So the first time it will look at the 39, it will look at this one. Then it will come and look at the when you drag it down. Then it should go to the second time. It goes to C40, which is 0. Then the next one to go to C42, which is also 0. So this is why 0 times the mass will give you a 0. So this is a key here that you should pay attention whenever you want to use a fixed or absolute reference, mainly for constants. Other than that, you have to keep it as a relative, which is relative reference, which is the default option in Microsoft Excel. By now you should have an idea when do you need to use relative reference compared to absolute reference in the cells for Excel.